Good morning. The last class we discussed about what are the benefits of going for microservices and what are the challenges of working with microservices. So let's quickly revise what we have discussed about benefits and challenges of microservices. Challenges, as we have seen, challenges. What are the challenges of working with microservices? Can anybody tell me? What are the challenges we have discussed? First one is bounded context. First one is bounded context. So deciding functionality for one microservice is a very challenging task for every team member in the project. The next one, lot of configuration. So one project is dividing into multiple projects. So we have to do a lot of configuration for that. And as multiple people working on multiple microservices, visibility will be less for all the team members in all the microservices. And next one is pack of cards problem. Pack of cards problem. If one of the main microservices went down, the remaining microservices are going to be down. There is no request cannot be completed by using the remaining microservices when the main microservice is down. So these are the challenges of working with microservices, right? Now, first of all, what is a microservice? What is a microservice, guys? Can I say microservice is a technology? Can I say microservice as a technology? Microservice is an architectural design pattern. Microservice is an architectural design pattern which is used to avoid the problems of monolith architecture. Microservice is an architectural design pattern which is used to avoid the problems of monolith architecture. So what are the challenges available? Bounded context, lot of configuration, and visibility, pack of cards problem. These all are the challenges that are involved with the microservices. All are the challenges which are involved with the microservices, right? Coming to benefits. Are there any benefits available? Or there are no benefits available for microservices? Advantages are available or advantages are not available. If I choose microservice architecture to design my project, to develop my project, what are the advantages available? Can you quickly tell me? We discussed in the last session, just I am revising. What are the advantages available? First advantage is easy maintenance. First advantage is easy maintenance. Fast delivery. That means fast releases. Delivery will be fast because we no need to wait for all the functionalities to be implemented. Whatever the functionalities you are developing in one microservice, quickly you can deliver that functionality to the client. Fast releases will be available. Fast releases will be available. What are the other advantage? What are the other advantage? Easy scaling. Easy scaling. That is, we can increase the capacity of the servers if the load is more on the microservice. Easily we can scale up our microservices. Easily we can scale up multiple microservices. Next one, technology independency. Technology independency. So there is no rule saying that all the microservices should be developed by using only one programming language. There is no rule like that because in the microservice architecture, several services we are going to develop. Those services are REST APIs only. So all nowadays REST is trending in the market. The reason all the programming languages are supporting for the REST API, and people are developing the projects by using different technologies, not only one technology. Now my project wants 10 microservices. 3 microservices I will start development by using Java. 3 .NET projects, 3 .NET people are available in my company. They don't have any project. I can use them to develop a microservice by using .NET. And some Salesforce people are available. I will take the help of the Salesforce people also to develop microservices. That means parallel development we can do. Parallel development is also possible when you go for microservices. So these all are the advantages of going for microservices. Easy maintenance because limited functionality, small project. Limited functionality, small project, we can easily maintain. If you have complete functionality in single project, maintenance of the project will become very difficult. So that's why microservices are telling that we need to follow a concept called divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. So what is the reason for the divide and conquer? We will have a better control on the functionality. We have a better control on the functionality. Simple example. So whenever we are conducting a class, either in the online or offline, if we have 20 members, we will have a better control, because every person name we will know. We can easily track what each person is doing. Suppose if I have 500 people in the class, control will not be there. I will, whatever, if the 500 people are there in the class, what faculty will do? He will just do his duty. He will come to the class, he will deliver the class, he will leave. He cannot answer all the questions of the people. He cannot clarify the doubts of the people, because more number of people are there. He cannot address all the people doubts. That means maintenance will become difficult. Suppose if we have 10 members or 20 members, then it would be very easy. All the 10 members, I can give 2 minutes for each member, 20 minutes of time, I can clarify all the doubts. Easy maintenance when we have limited strength. When we have more strength, control we are going to lose. We can't control all those people, right? So same thing is applicable when it comes to the project also. If you develop all the 100 functionalities in one project, maintenance will be difficult, control will be difficult. Instead of developing 100 functionalities in one project, if I develop 3 functionalities in one project, then I will have a control on the 3 functionality. End to end, I will know about those 3 functionalities. I can easily maintain those 3 functionalities. If any issue occurs, quickly I can fix that issue also. When you go for monolith architecture, maintenance of the project will become very difficult, because everything will be available in the single project. When it comes to the microservice, maintenance of the project will be simple. Next, fast releases. So as we are developing a limited functionality, quickly we can deliver the project to the client without waiting for all the requirements to be completed. Easy scaling. We can easily scale up and scale down our microservice, depends on the requirement. We can increase the capacity of the servers, or we can decrease the capacity of the server according to our requirement. And a technology independency. What do you mean by technology independency? Guys, can you quickly tell me what is the technology independency? Come on, fast. What is technology independency? If we have 10 microservices, there is no rule that we should implement all of them by using only one programming language. I can use multiple programming languages also to develop a project. Some microservices I will develop by using Java. Some microservices I will develop by using Python. Some microservices I will develop by using .NET, like that. We can use multiple technologies to develop one project. And another one is parallel development. Multiple teams can work parallelly, because I am working on one project, you are working on one project, somebody working on different project. So people will develop microservices parallelly. Parallel development will be available. These all are the advantages. That is the reason in the industry nowadays, microservices became a mandatory skill for every developer. If you don't have microservices in your resume, they are not even calling for the interview, because every project nowadays is going for microservices architecture. Some projects are already running with the monolith architecture, but slowly they are migrating the projects from monolith architecture to microservice based architecture. They're converting monolith architecture to microservice based architecture. Even my current project, where I am working in the banking sector, my project developed 10 years back. It is a banking application running from past 10 years in the mainframes. Now, from the mainframes, we are migrating that project into Java microservice based architecture. Piece by piece, we are taking and we are migrating to a microservice. From the mainframes, we are taking the logic and we are migrating it to the Java microservice based application. They have a monolith application. Bank means, you know, right? So many functionalities will be available. All the functionalities are there in the single project. That is a monolith project. Maintenance of the project becoming very difficult. So that's why From past 3 years, we are migrating that project to microservice based architecture, step by step. In the last 2 years of time, we built almost 70 microservices. We built almost 70 microservices in the last 3 years of time. I was there in that project from almost 1.8 years of time. So that started 1 year back before I joined. I joined almost in the year of 2018. In the year of 2018, I have joined in that company and I was part of that project where I am developing microservices. I involved in almost 50 microservices. Before that, they developed 20 microservices and I involved in the 50 microservices development. So easy projects, simple projects. Easy maintenance, fast release, easy scalability, technology independence, parallel development. In my project also, some microservices are developed by using .NET. When the Java resources are busy, when the .NET resources are available, they're giving 2-3 microservices to the .NET people. They are developing that, they are giving because that is a REST API. My microservice, which is developed by Java, can easily communicate with the REST API developed by using .NET because both are REST APIs only. So we can communicate with the REST APIs by using HTTP protocol irrespective of the technology. So that is a distributed application. Every service is going to be a distributed application in the microservice based architecture. So that's why I have spent almost 40 days of time to tell you how to develop a distributed application. In the microservices, nothing new we are going to learn here. Already we learned everything in the REST API only. Here just concept. Coding will be less here because all the coding that we learned in the REST API only. Here we need to understand the process in the industry, how people are working in the project, how the microservices are getting deployed, how the microservices are deploying to the cloud platform, how to scale up our application, how to scale down our application, how to monitor the logs of our application, how to see the health of our application. Those concepts we need to learn here. How to build resilience systems, that we need to learn here. Coding part will be less because coding already we done in the REST API. The REST API is acting as a service in the microservice architecture. Are you able to follow this? From past 40 days onwards, we are learning microservices only. All of you clear with challenges and advantages of going for microservices? Good, fine. Next, with this knowledge, now we are going to understand microservices architecture. Now we know what is microservice. We know what are the challenges of working with microservices and what are the advantages of working with microservices. When you compare, advantages are more than challenges. That's why in the industry, microservice architecture became very famous, and nowadays every project is getting developed based on microservices architecture only. Are you able to follow this? Right. As I told you yesterday, there is no fixed architecture for microservices. There is no fixed architecture for microservices. There is no fixed architecture for microservices. If you go for Spring MVC architecture is a fixed architecture. Controller, dispatcher servlet will be there, handler mapper will be there, controller will be there, view resolver will be there. That is a fixed architecture when you go for Spring MVC. Able to understand? And when you go for servlet also, servlet architecture is also fixed. Init method, service method, destroy method. There is a fixed architecture. We can talk about that. We can demonstrate on that. But when it comes to the microservices, there is no fixed architecture available for microservices. People are using microservices according to their comfort. There is no fixed architecture available for microservices. People are using this architecture according to their convenience. People are using microservices architecture, are customizing. People are customizing microservices. People are using or customizing microservice architecture as per their convenience. As per their convenience. As per their convenience. Right. The microservice architecture is following in my project is not same as the architecture in the another project in my company. So I have a friend whose name is Rajesh in my company. He is different project. I am different project. We are working in the same company, same floor, but two different projects. He is also developing a project. I am also developing a project for the same company, same bank. His project is different, my project is different. He also using microservices, I am also using microservices, but our project architectures are not same. That is the reason I am saying that. There is no fixed architecture available for microservices. People are using microservice architecture as per their convenience. As per their convenience. Are you guys comfortable with this? Are you guys comfortable with this? Now, here I am going to discuss about the generalized microservices architecture. Here I'm going to talk about generalized microservices architecture. Right. Let us see here. Generalized microservices architecture. Generalized microservices architecture. So in the generalized microservice architecture, service registry will be available. And second one, services will be available. Services will be available. Services nothing but REST APIs. Services nothing but REST APIs. And the third one is API gateway will be available. API gateway will be available. So in the generalized microservices architecture, three components will be there. One is service registry, second one is services, third one is API gateway. API gateway. Service registry. What is service registry? Very simple. What is service registry? First of all, what is a register? In the school days or in the college days, your teachers or faculties will come to the classroom with a register. What is the purpose of that register? To take a attendance. Who is present, who is absent for the today's class. So our teachers, our faculties use it to come to the class with a register to understand who is present and who is absent for the class today. So that will maintain list of the people. That register will maintain list of the people attendance details will be maintained in the register. Similarly, in the microservices based project, in the microservice based architecture project, multiple services will be available. In our application, multiple services will be available, like 10 services or 20 services. As I told you, in my project currently 70 microservices are available. In my project currently 70 microservices are available. Still, we migrated only 30% of the project. We migrated only 30% of the project in the last 3 years of time. And we need to migrate remaining 70% of the project. Almost another 200 microservices will come. That means 200 plus the 70, 270 microservices we are going to build for one project. Are you able to understand this? Now, if we have these many services in the project, do we need to maintain a register for that? Or we no need to maintain any register for that? Do I need to maintain any register for those microservices of my project, or I no need to maintain any register for my microservice based project? Come on guys, in the classroom 30 people are available. Faculty need to maintain a register, or faculty no need to maintain a register? Why you people are not responding? So we need to maintain a register. We need to maintain a register. So service registry is used to register. Service registry is used to register services available in our project. Service registry is used to register services available in our project. Service registry will provide a dashboard. Service registry will provide a dashboard with services information, like status, health, and URL, etc. Now, there are so many services are available. One service nothing but one REST API. One service nothing but one REST API. One service nothing but one REST API. What is service registry? Service registry is used to register services available in our project. Service registry will provide you a dashboard with the services information like status, health, and URL, etc. What is a service here? One service nothing but one REST API. One service nothing but one REST API. Now, see here, in our project, so many services will be available. So 100 services are available. So in some scenarios, all the 100 services may not be running. Some services are running successfully. Some services are not running successfully. So which services are running, which services are not running, what are the URLs of the services will be available in the service registry. Just read these 3 points once. Why we need, what is the purpose of service registry in microservice architecture based project? What is the purpose of service registry in microservice architecture based project? Service registry is used to register services available in our project. Service registry will provide a dashboard with services information like status, health, and URL, etc. One service nothing but one REST API. One REST API. Now tell me, is it mandatory to maintain the register or it is optional? Optional. If you want, you can maintain that. It is optional. But if you maintain, that is well and good. You will have all the services details in one project. You will maintain all the services details so that easily you can monitor which services are running and which services are not running. Easily you can, if you have a register, easily you can verify which service is running and which service is not running and what are the problems. Easily you can maintain the data. If the registry is not available, then it is going to be difficult for us. Now I have 70 microservices. Can I remember the URLs of all the 70 microservices, or I cannot remember the URLs of all the microservices? Can I remember the URLs of all the REST APIs, or I cannot remember the URLs of all the REST APIs? I cannot remember the URLs of all the REST APIs. Instead of I am remembering the URLs of all the REST APIs, I am going to register my REST APIs with a service registry. So that service registry will provide me all the details of the APIs. What is the name of the API? What is the status of the API? What is the URL of the API? All the details will be maintained by the service registry. When it will maintain, if my service registered with the service registry, then it will maintain all the details of my service, like name of my service, status, whether my service is running or not, and what is the URL of my service, that will be maintained in the service registry. We can use Eureka server as a service registry. It is an open source. Consul server, Eureka server, like that. There are so many servers are available which are going to act as a service registry. Here I'm going to show you Eureka server as a service registry. I'm going to show you Eureka as a service registry. I will take one project. In that project, I will use Eureka. That project will act as a service registry. Now, if you look at this diagram, here I'm going to take one project. Here I'm going to take one project. This project is going to act as a service registry for us. Assume that this is my project. This is my project. This project will act as a service registry for us. This project will act as a service registry. This project will act as a service registry. Which one we will use for a service registry? I'm going to use Eureka for service registry. Someone's camera is switched on. Please ping that person name. I will remove that guy from the session. Whose camera is got on? Abhilash, Sai Teja, you people are removing from the class. Abhilash and Sai Teja. Right now, so here I'm taking service registry. So what is the purpose of service registry? Service registry is used to register services available in our project. Service registry is used to register services available in our project. Service registry will provide a dashboard with services information like status, health, and URL, etc. One service, nothing but one REST API. We can use Eureka server as a service registry. Right now, I'm going to take one project. This project I'm going to consider as a service registry. In that, I will use Eureka server. What is the purpose of this Eureka? Eureka server will register our services available in the project and will provide the details of the services in the dashboard. Will provide the details of the services in the dashboard. What details will be provided in the dashboard? It will provide the URL, name of the service, status of the service, URL of the service, everything will be provided. Suppose there are 10 projects available, 10 services are available. Out of 10 services, which services are currently running, which services are not running, what is the health maintained by the Eureka. Eureka is going to act as a service registry for us. Eureka is act as a service registry for us. Are you guys comfortable with this? What is service registry? Are you guys comfortable with this? What is service registry? Come on, guys. What is service registry and what is the purpose of service registry? What is service registry and what is the purpose of service registry? Service registry is used to maintain the details of the services available in the project. Service registry is used to maintain details of the services available in our project. Service registry is used to maintain, register services available in our project. Service registry will maintain the details of the services available in the project. What is the advantage of maintaining? At one place, we can see the details of all the services. At one place, we can see the details of all the services. How many services are available in the project? How many of them are currently running? How many of them are currently not running? And what are the URLs of the services? All the details we can get from one place. That is called service registry. Good. We are going to use Eureka server as a service registry for our application. Eureka server we are going to use as a service registry for our application. Next one. Another important thing. Services. Services in the microservices. Microservices is an architecture. Microservices is an architecture. Microservice architecture contains multiple services to process business operations. So in microservices, one service is called as one REST API. In microservices architecture, services will be available. Services are called REST APIs. REST APIs are called as services in microservice based project. REST APIs are called as services in microservice based project. REST APIs are called as services in microservice based project. REST APIs contains logic. REST APIs contains business logic to perform business operation. As part of business operation, one REST API may communicate with the another REST API. As part of business operation, 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 one REST API can communicate with another REST API. As part of the business operation, one REST API can communicate with another REST API. So what is a service in the microservice based project? Microservices is an architecture. In that architecture, we are not going to develop everything in the single project. We are dividing the functionalities into multiple projects, right? Every project is called as microservice. Every project is called as microservice. In the microservice architecture, one project, one monolith application can be divided into multiple applications in the microservice based architecture. So one project is called as one microservice. One project, one small project can be called as one microservice, which we are going to develop as a REST API. What will be there in the REST APIs? The REST API contains a business logic to perform business operations. Now, when multiple REST APIs are available, microservice based project is nothing but it is a collection of REST APIs. Microservice architecture project means it is a collection of REST APIs. Microservice based project means it is collection of REST APIs. It is collection of REST APIs. Collection of REST APIs. Earlier, people used to develop a project as a monolith architecture. Everything will be available in the single project. Now, people are not developing all the functionalities in the single project. They are dividing the functionalities into multiple projects. They are dividing one project into multiple projects. Every project is called as a microservice, right? So every microservice is called as one REST API. So what is a microservice based project now? Microservice based project nothing but it is a collection of REST APIs. One REST API is called as one service in the project. One REST API is called as one service in the project. That REST API contains a business logic to perform the business operations. As part of the business operation, one REST API can communicate with another REST API also. We will develop a REST APIs. REST API is nothing but distributed applications. If it is a distributed application, one application can communicate with another application. One application can communicate with another application. Are you guys able to follow this? Are you guys able to follow this? Guys, come on. Microservice based project means it is collection of REST APIs. One REST API is called as one service. Microservice project nothing but it is collection of REST APIs. Is it clear for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? No, just read it. What is service registry and what is service? What is service registry and what is service? Very important, the backbones of microservice architecture. What is service registry and what are services? Read these guys' points, please. Very important. what is service registry and what are services? All of you comfortable with these two concepts? What is service registry and what are services? What is service registry and what are services? Are you guys comfortable with this? Good. Next one. Next one. API gateway. Yeah, before that, let me complete the diagram part. Services, right? Now here we can develop service 1, service 1, service 2, service 3, like this. A project can have multiple microservices. A project can have multiple services. A project can have multiple services also. Now here I will take this one as service A, service B, service C, or service 1, 2, 3. Anyone, any name, just I'm giving the name as a service 1. Just I'm giving the name as a service 1. For this I'm giving the name as service 2. For this I'm giving the name as service 2. And for this I'm giving the name as service 3. I will give the name as service 3. Service 1, service 2, service 3. Now these services can interact with the same database or they can interact with the different database. That's up to you. Whether you want to go with the same DB for all the services or whether you want to maintain different database for every service, that's up to you. Right now here I'm taking a common database for all the services. I'm taking a common database for all the services. Right. So here I'm writing DB. I'm writing DB for that. Got it. So every service will, some services may have a persistent logic, some services may not have a persistent logic. If a persistent logic is required, then this service will communicate with the database. These services, these REST APIs can use data JPA or can use any persistent technology and they can communicate with the database. They can communicate with the database. Either you can use same database or you can use different database. That depends on a project requirement. That depends on our project requirement. Now service 2, now service 3. Service 3. So like this, these services are connecting with the database. And at the same time, so these services should be registered with the service registry also. These services should be registered with the service registry also. So every service that we have in the project, we need to register those services with the service registry. That means our REST APIs are going to act as a client for a Eureka server. Eureka server is acting as a service registry for us, and our services are going to act as a client for Eureka server. Our services will act as client for Eureka server. Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me? Now, our services are getting registered with the Eureka server. So our services will be called as clients for the Eureka. Our services will be called as clients for the Eureka. Eureka is going to act as a server. For the Eureka server, our services are acting as clients. What is our service? What is our service? Can I call our service as a REST API? Can I call our service as a REST API, guys? Come on, fast. Can I call our service as a REST API? Yes, we can call our service as a REST API. We can call our service as a REST API. Microservices project, nothing but it is collection of REST APIs. Now, so it is very difficult to remember all the details of the REST APIs, all the REST APIs details. So that is the reason we are registering our APIs, our services with a service registry so that it will maintain the details of all the services available in the project. Now here, service 1, service 2, service 3 are acting as clients for the Eureka. Service 1, service 2, service 3 are acting as clients for the Eureka. 1, 2, 3 are acting as clients for the Eureka. Eureka is acting as a service registry for us. Are you comfortable with the diagram? Are you comfortable with the diagram? Guys, come on. Are you comfortable with the diagram? What is service registry and what are the services? Service registry is maintaining the details of all the services, but we have to register our services with the service registry. The REST API is called, one REST API is called as one service here. The service which is registered with the service registry is called as a client, Service registry will act as a server. Eureka is going to act as a server in that, and our REST APIs are going to act as clients for the Eureka. That means our REST API will be registered with the Eureka. Then our REST API will be called as client of the Eureka. Our REST API is called as client of the Eureka. Right. When it is done, so service 1, service 2, service 3, like this, we are having multiple services in the project. Like this, we can have 100 services also in our project. All the 100 services we are going to register with the Eureka. All the 100 services we are going to register with the Eureka. That's fine. Sir, service 1 is a REST API. Service 2 also REST API. Can these two REST APIs communicate with each other? Can I establish a communication from service 1 to service 2? Can one REST API access another REST API or it cannot access? Can one REST API access another REST API or it cannot access another REST API? It can access. This is called as inter-service communication. The first REST API is sending a request to the second REST API. Second REST API is sending response to the first REST API. Are you able to follow this? These are two applications. These are two projects. These are two REST APIs. REST controllers are there. Inside one project, can I write the logic for the accessing another REST API? In one REST API, can I write the logic to access another REST API? Come on. In one REST API, can I write the logic to access another REST API? Or I cannot write the logic to access another REST API? We can no, Mr. Rajneesh, we cannot write. Someone saying that we cannot write it. I will write a REST controller. In that I will write one method. In that one method, can I write the logic of REST template or I can write the logic of web client? We can write it. What's wrong in that? What's wrong in that? In one REST API, I can write the logic of the REST client to access another REST API. What is difficulty? This is called as inter-service communication. This is called as inter-service communication. One microservice can communicate with another microservice available in the project. One service can communicate with another service in the project. So our project is a collection of services. Service is nothing but REST APIs. So one REST API can communicate with another REST API. One REST API can communicate with another REST API. There is no problem. There is no problem. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? One REST API can communicate with another REST API. There are several mechanisms are available for communication. REST template we can use, web client we can use, VN client also we can use. In the REST APIs, we discussed about REST template and web client. Here I'm going to talk about FIAN client, which is used to access REST API within the same project. I mean, to achieve inter-service communication, I will go for FIAN client. In my project, 3 services are available. Service 1 wants to access service 2. That will become inter-service communication. So to achieve the inter-service communication, there is a concept called FIAN client. We will use that FIAN client concept to achieve this. Are you guys comfortable with this? Are you guys comfortable with this? Come on, guys. Are you clear with services now? Yes, we can use REST template, or we can use web client, or we can use service, the register, that is a FIAN client. When you go for inter-service communication, FIAN client is recommended. When you go for third-party service communication, my microservice want to access a third-party service. Right now, here there is one third-party project is available. Now assume that here there is one third-party project is available. Now assume that this is some third party. This is some third party. Third party service. Then can my microservice, that is my REST API 3, can access this third party or cannot access this third party? Can my project access the another project API, or my project cannot access the another project API? My project can access the another project API also. This is external service communication. This is external service communication. My REST API can communicate with the another project developed by other company also. My REST API can access the other project developed by other company also. So if my microservice wants to access a third-party REST API, then I need to go for either REST template or I need to go for web client. I need to go for REST template or I need to go for web client, because they are third parties. Third party. So my project wants to access another project. Already we developed a REST client and we demonstrated. TechLeads API we accessed by using REST template. We accessed by using web client. In the same way, my microservice 3 can access third-party API by using REST template or by using web client. So when you are working on the microservices, you have to realize that our microservice can talk to microservice which is in the same project, or our microservice, our service will talk to another service in the same project, and our service will talk to third-party service which is available in the different project also. So I am working on these all concepts in my project. One of my microservice, one of my REST API will talk to another REST API which is belongs to my project only. That is the requirement. And sometimes my REST API will talk to third-party project. The third-party project may be a REST API or maybe a SOAP web service. It depends on the business. We are going to develop our logics. So I'm going to show you how to consume third-party REST APIs and how to achieve inter-service communication and how to access SOAP web service also from the REST API. I will talk about complete clarity that I'm going to give you. How exactly that I am doing in my project. Same use cases I'm going to tell you here. Because we are doing a lot of work in our project related to these microservices and REST APIs. All of you comfortable with this? Generally, people will use FIAN client for inter-service communication. It will support for external service communications also, but recommended to use the FIAN client for inter-service communication. For external service communications, people will use the REST template and web clients. Now, not even REST template, people are using only web client because it is alternative for the REST template. That web client will support for both synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication. synchronous communication as well as asynchronous communication. Are you able to follow this diagram? One service registry, 3 services are available, and one third-party service is also available. Service registry will maintain the details of all our microservices available in the project. And one of our REST API can communicate with the another REST API in the same project. Then it is called as inter-service communication. Sometimes our APIs, our services will communicate with the third-party services also by using REST template and web client. By using REST template and web client. Good. Now, another important part in our architecture is API gateway. API gateway. API gateway. Now, so any idea what is API gateway? Come on, guys. What is API gateway? What is API gateway? An API gateway. Yeah, I need some answers. I got some answers. Let me check it. A server through which all requests will go through. Very good. Good point. Right. So what is API gateway? An API gateway is an API management tool. API gateway is an API management tool. So our REST APIs can be called as APIs, right? So microservice project is nothing but collection of REST APIs, collection of APIs. An API gateway is an API management tool. API management tool that sits between client and collection of backend services. That sits between collection of backend services. Backend service is nothing but our REST APIs. Client is going to access our REST API, right? So this API gateway is sitting between the client and our backend services. Our backend services are REST API. Right now, so we can say that API gateway is the single entry point for all clients. API gateway act as single entry point for all clients. API gateway acts as single entry point for all clients. That means when we are having several microservices, we don't give all the services URLs to the clients. We'll give API gateway URL. When they send a request to the API gateway, that will decide which service has to execute. So API gateway, in API gateway, we can write the logic. To filter user requests coming. We can filter incoming user request. That means whenever the requests are coming to our project is collection of services. So people cannot access our services directly because of security reasons. I want to implement security in my project. I don't want to allow everybody to access my API. I want to secure my API. So now here security I need to do for my APIs. There are 50 APIs are available in my project. Do you want me to write security for all the APIs, or I should write at one common place? Do you want me to write the security in all the services available in the project, or you want me to write it only one place and use that security logic for all the services? Which is recommended? which is recommended. Instead of writing that security logic in all the services, we will write that security logic at one place and we will ask all the users to cross that gate. So API gateway is going to act as a gate for our services house. If we keep all the services in one house, API gateway is going to act as an entry point for our house. All the client requests will come to API gateway. It will authenticate that request. It will authorize that request. Then only it will decide which backend service has to execute for that request. So API gateway is going to act as a single entry point. API gateway is going to act as a single entry point. Now, so let's read this. What is API gateway? What is API gateway? An API gateway is an API management tool that sits between a client and collection of backend services. Backend services are nothing but REST APIs. Backend services are nothing but REST APIs. Backend services are nothing but REST APIs. Backend services are nothing but REST API. API gateway acts as single entry point for all clients. So for our application, several clients can be available. For those clients, API gateway is the single entry point. That means all the client requests should pass through API gateway. All the client requests should pass through API gateway. Are you able to follow this? API gateway is an API management tool that sits between a client and a collection of backend services. Backend services are nothing but REST APIs. API gateway acts as single entry point for all clients. In API gateway, we can write the logic to filter user request. In API gateway, we can write the logic to filter user request. Are you able to follow this? Right. Now, where the API gateway will be available? API gateway will be available here. API gateway will be available here. Now, this is going to act as a entry point for all our backend REST APIs. It is going to act as entry point for all our REST APIs. And API gateway also will be registered with the Eureka. API gateway also acting as a client for Eureka. API gateway also will act as a client for Eureka. API gateway is also one of the project which is going to act as a client for the Eureka. Now, generally, people will use Joule proxy as an API gateway. Generally, people will use Joule as API gateway because it is open source. People are going to use Joule as the API gateway. There are some commercial API gateways also available, which is called APG. Google provided APG as the API gateway, which is going to act as a entry point for all the microservices available. Which is going to act as an entry point for all the microservices available. Now, here for our project, this is complete our project architecture. So this is complete our project architecture. This is our project architecture. Now, for our project, some clients can be available. For our project, some clients will be available. So a client can be using a desktop system, right? And one client may be using mobile phone. One client may be using a mobile phone. Like that, some other tab will be available. People will be using different modes of communications to access our project. Now, all these requests will be coming to our API gateway. All the requests will be coming to API gateway. Clients will be sending the request to the API gateway by using mobiles or by using desktops or by using some tabs, by using browsers or by using some tools, people will be sending request to our application through API gateway. They cannot access our API directly. Our API is a backend API. They can't access that API directly. In order to access our API, they need to cross this gateway. The gateway is going to act as a front controller for our application. They have to cross this API gateway, then only they can access our backend APIs. So whenever client wants to access any service, he need to send a request to the API gateway. API gateway is acting as a client for the service registry, and service registry contains the list of services available in the project and the status of those services. So this is the generalized microservices architecture of a project. Generalized microservices architecture of a project. API gateway, Eureka, that is service registry, and a list of services will be available in our project. Just analyze this diagram. In this project, these are belongs to our application components. These are belongs to our application components, and some third-party APIs also will be available, and clients also will be available. Are you guys comfortable with microservices architecture? Are you guys comfortable with this microservice architecture? It depends, sir. Are we going to use the same database for all the microservices, or we are going to use different database for the microservices? It depends on your project. It depends on your project. So in the project, they will tell you whether we need to, because I have seen different projects. Some projects are using same database for all the services. Some projects are using multiple database for the project. It depends on the requirement. It depends on the requirement. Currently in my project, we are using same database. For all the services, we are using same database. Got it? Yep. Right, guys. With this, I'm stopping for today. So today we understood very important concept in the microservices, that is microservices architecture. Right? So we discussed about very generalized architecture of the microservices. We discussed about generalized architecture of the microservices. From tomorrow onwards, we are going to start the coding part. I want to build one project with this architecture, and I want to prove that practically how microservices are working in the background. So in the tomorrow, we will create a service registry. We'll create the services. We'll register services with the service registry. Then we will see that. Practically, I'm going to demonstrate this architecture with working examples. We'll create that in our class. Got it? Yesterday's notes I have uploaded. Today's notes also I'm going to upload to the Google Classroom. Right. So in another 2 minutes of time, once this session is ended, another in the 2 minutes of time, I will upload these notes to the Google Classroom. All right. Fine, guys. Thank you. And tomorrow we'll start with the coding part. Tomorrow class will start by sharp 7:30. Please be on time. See you tomorrow.